Hey y'all, it's Megan. If you are returning to my channel, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome aboard. So today is another Disney Storytime video. It seems like every time I'm in the Tropic car, I end up doing story times. I don't know why I end up doing those in the car, but here we are. Today I am going to talk about some overly dramatic guests, and I know I'm totally guilty of being overly dramatic. I'm sure you couldn't tell at all if you've watched any of my videos that I am a very dramatic human being. I have met a few fellow dramatic humans while working at Disney World. Some of them maybe did not have very good reason to be as dramatic as they were, but that's what we're talking about today, some drama queens at Disney World. So the first one I am going to mention is just really quick. When I was working at Disney World, there was an incident that happened just before I got there. It was something that my friends had to deal with. I did not personally have to deal with this particular guest, but it was a thing that I was told about because it had just happened a few weeks before I got there. So this guy had been filming all throughout the cruise on his iPad. No big deal, cool. He's filming. He keeps leaning kind of outside the boat to get better shots, I guess, of stuff. And the skipper that had him on his boat kept telling him, you know, stay inside for me, you know, kept stopping the boat. You gotta sit down, stay inside the boat, don't lean out. I don't remember, the guests may not have had English as their first language, I don't remember specifically, but throughout the cruise, he's been videoing outside of the ride. And he gets to the point in the attraction that we call squeeze play. And that is, if you're familiar with the ride, the section right after the temple and the Indian elephant bathing pool where those two little elephants pop up on either side of the boat and they spray water. Now, if the skipper has done their job correctly, if all the sensors are working, you're not gonna get wet. The skipper wants you to think that you're gonna get wet. It's part of the show, it's part of the act. They're gonna make a big deal about it. Get down, I'm sorry, we got the slow boat. But you are not supposed to get wet. However, this guy did not know that. He fully believed the skipper that said, oh my gosh, they're coming back up, I'm sorry. And he freaked out and did like that and like threw his arms up in the air. And when he did that, he threw his iPad into the Indian elephant bathing pool. Yep, sure. And if the story ended there, this would not be overly dramatic. That would just be someone reacting and, oh, that's sad. I'm sorry about your iPad. No, this man complained to guest relations. He complained that his iPad had been lost. He was not able to retrieve it. Even if he had been able to retrieve it, it was submerged. Not gonna work anymore. I don't think there's enough rice in the universe to make that iPad work after it's been all the way down to the bottom of the Jungle Cruise. But anyway, went to guest relations. He complained. Disney bought him a new iPad because he was so irate that the attraction had caused him to lose his iPad. And the skipper was not blamed. No one got in trouble. But this guy did get a new iPad, courtesy of Walt Disney World, because he lost his marbles and threw his iPad into the water and then blamed the Jungle Cruise. A little dramatic. This next guest is not super overly dramatic. I can understand his mindset, at least. Anyone who has been to Disney and has been frustrated by the way that the day has gone can probably commiserate with this guy. It was a man and his two sons. The sons were young teenagers, you know, probably 12 and under. But they came up and I was standing at the greeter position outside the Jungle Cruise. Hey guys, welcome, come on in, come enjoy the world famous Jungle Cruise. He came up and he said, can you tell me how to get to Big Thunder Mountain? And I was like, whoa, like not when I usually get. Thunder's a little ways away. So like that was not super, you know, usually we got asked about Pirates of the Caribbean, we got asked about, you know, things that are around Jungle Cruise. And Frontierland butts up to Adventureland, so it's not like that far away, but it just wasn't one that I was expecting. And I was like, oh, Thunder, yes, Thunder's actually down for refurbishment. It had been down for months. This was early on in my program. Thunder was closed for refurbishment from I think February to May of that year. And when Disney puts out refurbishment schedules, they put them out well in advance because they know that people are booking their holidays, their vacations well in advance. So they had this information available and this guy had somewhere missed that. He also, I guess, did not see on like the maps and the times guides and all of that the attraction was not open. But he was asking me where it was and I told him that it was not running. And he said, what do you mean it's not running? And I was like, it's actually down for refurbishment for a few more weeks. And he's like, well, we aren't gonna be here in a few more weeks. It's like, I am so sorry about that. Really nothing I can do. We came all the way here just to ride Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. And I was like, you know, you should have checked the refurbishment schedule. I didn't say that. Really wanted to. Didn't. But you commonly hear guests proclaim that the entire reason they came to the park was for attraction here. Like, we came here just to ride this. We came here just to see this show. If you did, great. I hope you got to see it. But I highly doubt that that is the case. I don't think people would plan a holiday that is thousands of dollars just to see one attraction. I really don't believe that. But if you need to get it out, I understand. So he didn't stop there. That was his main overly dramatic reaction. But when I told him, I was like, I'm sorry, there's really, you know, it's closed for another few weeks. There is absolutely nothing I can do about it. I'm gonna have to go to guest relations. And I was like, okay. Do you know where? And I thought he was asking me like how to get there. And he's like, I'm gonna have to go in there and I'm gonna have to complain. And oh, okay. I understand. And he just keeps standing there. He keeps telling me all these things. He's like, I'm gonna go to guest relations. I'm gonna go complain. I'm like, I still cannot make Thunder Mountain be open. I really can't. And then he follows it up with what everyone has, I'm sure, thought at some point when they were having a less than pleasurable experience at Disney World. He's like, we had better get our money back for this. I'm like, that is not gonna happen. But I did not burst his bubble. Pulled out a map and I showed him how to get to guest relations where it was on Main Street. Sent him that direction and he and his son stormed off. The last one deals with fast passes, and at this time in Disney history, fast passes were kind of in a limbo area. I have mentioned before that I took paper fast passes while I worked there. That was what we worked mainly in. We typically had paper fast passes. But while I was working there, we also were beginning to start the testing process for FastPass Plus. So, you know, we started having little scanners, and we started having iPads, and people could use their cards and scan them to use their fast passes rather than having the paper ones that we would just collect. So we're in a transition period anyway. And one of the things that was leading up to this transition was making sure that people stuck to their 1 hour time frame that was listed on their fast pass. Up until that point, it had been, if your fast pass time has come and gone, any time of the day later than the fast pass, we'll still honor it. So if you had a fast pass from 3 to 4 and you didn't go to the Jungle Cruise until 6 o'clock that night, you still come in. Doesn't matter if you've had a fast pass at some point during the day and that time has passed, you could come in. Now, in order to prepare for the new FastPass Plus system, where people were going to be digitally like held to their time frames, Disney started enforcing that 1 hour window a little bit more strictly. They said 5 minutes before, 15 minutes after, that's it. Don't let people in any earlier or any later. You have these grace periods on either side of the window. That was in March of 2012. So right after I started in the beginning of February. So I had 1 month of just, yeah, everyone, you got a fast pass, come on in. And then after that, in March, they were like, okay, really hold them to this time frame. So there were some kinks with that going forward. Early on in that process, it was literally the week that they had instituted that change. They had said, it's now, do it. And I was at FastPass Return, which if you've not seen some of my other Storytime videos, I'll link them up there and down in the description. FastPass Return has some interesting encounters sometimes, but this particular day, the FastPass Return line was much longer than it should have been because there were a ton of people coming all in this one window. You know, everyone was like, oh, we have to stay within our window. So as soon as it hit 3 o'clock, they were like, we gotta get there. We gotta be in our window. So at the beginning of the hour and at the end of the hour, there were big crowds of people trying to either get there at the beginning of their window or get there right before their window closed to make sure that they got to use their fast pass, which meant that the beginning of one and the end of another were lumped up together, and we had a ton of people coming all at one time. So that meant that the fast pass line had stretched all the way out of the queue inside, all the way up the ramp, and almost to the entrance to the treehouse. So the fast pass return person at that point, that would be me, got to walk all the way down the line, and to keep people from standing in that line if they wanted to, you know, because typically people come and they see, oh, the long line, that's gotta be the standby line, so they get into it. So I would walk down there and make sure, hey, everybody have a fast pass. This is actually the fast pass line. If you're looking for the standby line, it is off to the right. Make sure that you are in the correct line, just to keep people in the right lines. And, you know, if there are people that are looking for the standby line, you know, kind of get everyone separated, get everything moving as good as possible. So once you make sure that everyone in the line has fast passes, you're kind of checking to make sure that they have fast passes for the right time, because people would come way too early for their fast passes. A lot. People would come and it was like 2 hours before their fast pass time, and you would have to explain, like, no, you have to, you know, it was people who were unfamiliar with the fast pass system, and they were just like, okay, I have a ticket, I'm coming in. So you'd have to explain it to them and be like, no, actually, you know, your fast pass is at this time, just come back then, and they would get out of the line. But as I'm going down, I'm saying, does everyone have a fast pass for between 4:15 and 5:15? Anyone who does not have a fast pass between 4:15 and 5:15, you need to not be in this line. If you are looking for the standby line, it is off to the right. If you are looking for, if you have another time, make sure that you come back at that time, or come see me if you have any questions. So I'm doing this whole thing. This family, I hear them, they're like a few families back from the ones that I'm currently like, hey, can I see your fast pass? I'm looking at their fast passes and stuff. So I hear them a few back going, oh, she's gonna let us in. She's got to. And I'm like, oh dear. Here we go. So I get back to them and I'm like, hi guys, can I see your fast passes? Make sure that you have one for between 4:15 and 5:15. And they say, ours was from 2 to 3. Is that okay? Like, we can still come in, right? And I'm like, actually, no, I can't let you in. If it had been like 1 or 2 people, I probably would have been like, just don't tell anybody, and like go on in. But it was a family of like 8, so I was like, that's a hefty chunk of the line. Actually, it's a new rule. We can't honor fast passes past the time that they were listed for. That was announced such and such. I don't remember exactly how long before that it had been announced, but it was printed on the tickets and it was printed on it, you know, on the information, and people told you when you got your fast passes, or they should have. You know, make sure that you are sticking to this window. You can't come back afterwards. But they were about an hour and a half late for their fast pass, and I was like, I can't let you in. You're welcome to join the standby line, but this fast pass is no longer valid. And she was like, we've been coming to Disney since the beginning of time, and it has always been that we can come and we can use it afterwards. And I'm like, I know, it's a really recent change, literally a few days ago, but it is a change that we are having to honor, and we just really have to kind of get this process going. So we're not going to be able to let you in. And she says, we were over there in line for 2 hours, and she points to the entrance to the treehouse. And nobody ever spent 2 hours in line at the treehouse. Nobody's ever spent 2 hours near the treehouse. So, overly dramatic, yes. Valid frustration, absolutely. I feel her pain. I would not like having to forfeit my fast pass. However, that was the situation that we found ourselves in, and yelling at the college student who is just trying to follow the rules and not lose her job is not gonna change anything. So she finally said, who made this change? And I said, Disney World? And she was like, fine. And they left. That is it. Those are my overly dramatic guest interactions. Those are just a couple of them. I didn't honestly have that many guests that were like very outspoken and boisterous in a negative way. So those are really 3 of the only ones that I can think of right off the top of my head. But if you have any experiences where you have been a cast member and you've had to deal with a guest that was super overly dramatic, or any job that you've had where you've had a customer that was just like, I need you to dial it down, let me know those stories down below. I'm sure that y'all have some real interesting ones. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, y'all.